Anti-Literacy Laws by Tamashia Flowers. Throughout this presentation, we will define what anti-literacy laws are, why anti-literacy laws were passed in the South, and any cases that related to anti-literacy laws. Thinking back to what educational norms were in place for slaves before the Nat Turner Rebellion. Education for slaves during this time were specifically related to Sunday school teachings with biblical practices, moral lessons, and any job-related education. Skills such as English were taught, but limited access to books and text were allowed. Anti-literacy laws were a natural extension of the slave code system, preventing the enslaved Black population to learn how to read and write in any form. Why was there a need for anti-literacy laws in the South? Plantation owners feared that knowledgeable Blacks would figure out a way to escape. An escape plan could impact success on the plantation operations. So they wanted to limit access to knowledge and information, specifically print text or any other type of teaching. So things such as Bibles or books were taken away. All learning was through oral instruction, and they all related to either the Bible or operational skills needed on the plantation. And of course, there were, this law was passed in Virginia, and that led to people believing that anti-slavery laws were only for those who were enslaved. For example, Margaret Douglas's trial stands out as it relates to anti-literacy laws because Margaret Douglas, she sought to educate freed Blacks. She knew an African-American barber who had children who were not educated, and her, along with her daughter Rosa, wanted to educate these Blacks. They assumed that this was okay because these were freed Blacks. So they opened a school for Black children to teach them reading, writing, and biblical principles. But of course, this was not something that should have happened during this time. So Douglas did get summoned, and of course it was pushed out of the local courts, but then it went to the federal courts. And Margaret did receive a month imprisonment for her neglect to follow the anti-literacy laws. So they wanted people to understand that the severity of this punishment, they could receive up to 6 months in prison, or people who neglected to follow the law could receive a fine. So as a result of continuous growth, of course, more equitable educational opportunities are accessible for Blacks. In turn, they have progressed on to, in 2001, the No Child Left Behind Act, the ESA waiver, things like that, to ensure that there is an equitable education in place for all. All children have access to print text and an educational system that provides them with a learning environment and materials that are conducive to success.